Let's sprint through first base as we continue this journey. In this episode, Sarah Davis will interview the candidates for Brethren Benefit Trust Board, Kevin Boyer and Carl Eubank.
This is Sarah Davis. I'm with Women's Caucus, and in preparation for annual conference and voting on the ballot, Women's Caucus is interviewing people whose names are up for positions within the church. Today I'm talking to Carl Eubank in Ohio, and he's up for the Brethren Benefit Trust Board position. So welcome. Carl, and why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Carl Eubank, and I attend Happy Corner Church of the Brethren in Clayton, Ohio. I've been a member there for 42 years. I have 2 children and 3 grandchildren, and I work at Brethren Retirement Community, which has been around since 1902. I've been here almost 20 years now. I currently serve as our Vice President, Chief Financial Officer. In my current role, I oversee all of our financial operations. I'm responsible. I have a staff that does billing, collecting, financial statements. And we also, besides Brethren Retirement Community in Greenville, Ohio, we also manage a facility in Englewood, Ohio, and one in Bluffton, Ohio. So we have a far-reaching impact with our management team here at Brethren Retirement Community, and I'm actively involved in all 3 of those organizations.
Thank you. And what is your vision for the Church of the Brethren?
It seems fairly simple, but my vision for the church is that we can be one of diversity, but one of unity. I really like everybody to be able to get along. And, there's a lot of good in all of us, and we should be able to find enough common ground that we can still have unity, even though we have diversity. So that would be my vision, I believe.
Thank you. Is there anything else you want to share?
Not at this time, I don't think so.
Okay.
I'm anxious to hear your questions.
What makes you better suited for this position than you would have been 5, 10, 20 years ago?
Well, 20 years ago, my only experience with Brethren Benefit Trust was having been the church board chair. We wrote a pension check every month for our pastor and sent it to Brethren Benefit Trust. So that would have been my only experience with them. However, since I've come to Brethren Retirement Community, I am involved because my pension is with Brethren Benefit Trust. So I take a keen interest in that. And then in my role as the Chief Financial Officer, we're always looking out for our employees. And Brethren Benefit Trust has provided retirement for many of our employees over the years when they wouldn't have been able to save on their own. So I feel very appreciative that Brethren Benefit Trust was there so that our employees could have something to fall back on other than just Social Security. So over the years, I've gained an affinity for Brethren Benefit Trust. Also, because of being an employee, I've had many dealings with staff at Brethren Benefit Trust and appreciate the expertise that is there. And being able to work with them at my level, has been a good working relationship as well.
Thank you. Is there a person or organization that has inspired you or helped you develop your gifts for this position?
Yeah, I would say I think of 3 people that come to mind. First, my father, who taught me to help others when you are able, because when you need help, somebody will be there for you. So that's where I think my giving of myself to others comes from. My uncle taught me the value of investing at a very early age. We played a game. We would pretend we had $10,000 and we would buy stocks at the beginning of the year and trade during the first 6 months to see who would have the best value at the end of those 6 months. So I learned the value of investing and a love and the understanding of why you invest your money. And then finally, my current president, he demonstrates on a daily basis the fine balance between running a business and providing a ministry. And so I think, a BBT in that same way, and being responsible as a board member, having the fiduciary responsibility to make sure you do both of those. You run it, it needs to be run like a business, but you also have to provide a ministry. So I think those things those three people had an impact on me, and developed me where I am today.
That's great. That's great. Holding a leadership position in the church is a lot of work. How do you envision taking care of yourself while juggling multiple responsibilities?
My whole life, I've been wanting to have multiple responsibilities and have learned how to devote the time to each of those, if it be for my church, for my family, for work, or for my volunteering. Sometimes some of those need more priority than others, and you just develop a sense of juggling, for lack of a better term, how to deal with all the priorities that you've committed yourself to. Also, not being overly committed so that you can do due diligence to each of those things you're responsible for. But I think it's something that can be learned. And over the years, I have learned how to take care of myself along with all those other priorities. And I would say that I get energy from being around people and giving to others. And so some of that's some self-care when I'm able to do that as well.
Well, thank you very much for your time today.
I appreciate it. And I look forward to talking with some of you at an annual conference, maybe, who has seen this interview. So thank you.
This is Sarah Davis, and I'm interviewing Kevin Boyer, who will be on the annual conference ballot for a position on the Brethren Benefit Trust Board. Kevin, why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Kevin Boyer. I live in a small community in northern Indiana, Bourbon, population of about 1,800 people. Been there for most of my life, certainly in my adult life since 1994. I've raised 4 children who are all grown. I have 10 grandchildren. 5 of the 10 grandchildren actually live in my same neighborhood. So they're close by, and the other 5 are not far away. So family is very important to my wife and I. We've been married for 46 years now. Graduate of Manchester College, majored in accounting. I've started out a career in public accounting, but for the most part, I've been a chief financial officer in the healthcare arena the last 30 years or so. After 10 years post graduation from Manchester, I pursued a graduate degree from the University of Notre Dame in administration. So I have that background as well. And I do what I'd like to share. I do a lot of volunteer work. I enjoy being busy. I was busy with all my 4 children when I was raising them, but still found time for volunteer activities. But I'm involved in a lot of board work, and I just enjoy it. It's a wonderful opportunity to get to know people and expand your relationships, and it's just been a good experience for me throughout my life.
That's great. And I think your background in healthcare administration will be very helpful to the board as well. As you know, I'm on the board, and we're really looking for ways to expand our footprint, because a large part of the business now is not small churches, but the retirement homes and the medical facilities that they have attached to them, and the employees for those institutions are a large part of the program.
Okay, that's good to know. I wasn't aware of that. And one of the organizations that I served on a board with was Timbercrest, our senior living center. So that's been a few years ago, but good organization. So I'm familiar with those groups of people, groups of employees.
What is your vision for the Church of the Brethren?
My vision, in my opinion, there are 2 main teachings that Jesus had, and that was to love God and to love one another. And you know what? That is how I try to conduct my life. My enemies will never know who they are, and I don't know that I have any enemies. But if we do those two things, if we love God and we love one another, everything else will take care of itself.
I'm doing this on behalf of Women's Caucus, and one of the things we like to do is pray for the people on the ballot. So look out for an invitation for a prayer at annual conference. Do you plan to be there?
I probably won't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll be praying for you and praying for the church as we go into. We haven't all met together in a couple of years, so this should be an interesting annual conference. Thank you so much for your willingness to be a volunteer for the church and stand for this office.
Well, certainly. And Sarah, I wasn't aware that you were on this board. I hope this works out, and I hope I get an opportunity to get to know you a little bit better. So I enjoyed our time together today.